If you have questions or need prayer, email Annamarie at 5minutesadayWithGod@gmail.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to our videos so that more people can hear the Word of God.
Good morning, and welcome to Thursday, and welcome to 5 Minutes a Day with God. So now in Exodus 34, and I want you to read it on your own, we are going to see the covenant renewed. Right? So the covenant was broken because the people, they did what was right in their own eyes, and they worshipped an idol, and they built a golden calf. And so because of that, God had every right, according to the principles of the covenant, to destroy them and to start again. But he didn't. And so here's a beautiful picture of renewal. And we'll see this sometimes when maybe there's been adultery in a marriage, and then they decide to move on and forgive each other and work it out, and then they will renew their vows. And so this is kind of like a vow renewal, so to speak. And so then God shows again his compassion and his mercy here and his love. And so God calls Moses up to Mount Sinai again. So he says, just you, Moses, you come up. And then God cuts new tablets of stone with his own finger. And then that's how he wrote the 10 Commandments out, with the finger of God. And so remember, the other tablets were broken when Moses comes down and he sees what the people were doing, and they're sinning and worshiping this calf, this golden idol. He breaks the tablets to also signify this covenant is broken. And so then we see there's this presence, this glory of God is on this mountain as a cloud. And this is known as the Shekinah glory, right? It's this beautiful glory that can't be described. And so the Lord passed before Moses and showed him all his glory. We saw that in the other chapter. And I want you to, again, just kind of think about this. I've seen this phrase so often about the God of the Old Testament, or I've heard people say the God of the Old Testament is the angry God. But I like Jesus of the New Testament because, he forgives, he loves everybody. And so, but here we see God's compassion and his mercy and his love, because he chooses not to show them the judgment that he had every right to do. He had every right to show them judgment. And instead, he chooses mercy. So that's a beautiful picture of our God. He is full of mercy, full of compassion. And so then he again says what they're supposed to do, that they need to forsake all idols and follow God. And so Moses, you think about, here's Moses, now he's coming down, and he is armed with the new tablets, and he's fueled by being in God's presence, right? He's been in God's presence. He has seen the Shekinah glory, and that has changed him. And so this close communion with God has physically affected Moses. And he comes down with a face that is so shining in appearance that the people and the leaders were afraid to come to him. They were thinking, wow, he is so radiant. We're kind of afraid to be in that presence. And I just want to encourage you that a life lived with God affects our physical appearance. It really does, especially the face, right? And because our countenance really shows who we are. And think about it, when you're having a great day, or when you're full, when you went to church or had that great worship time, or being alone in God's presence, like your countenance is changed. Like I feel like my face looks more at peace, and my smile is wider and genuine than when I'm troubled, right? We could tell, like we have that face that we could tell what's going on, right? When people know that we're mad or when we're depressed, because it shows on our face. And I think that it also shows people that we are different because we know God, right? It shows on our face. So just kind of throw that out. Also, only 2 men in the entire Bible had this shiny face. So it was Moses and Stephen. And the irony is that Moses and Stephen didn't pray for that. They didn't pray, to have that, to be able to shine for God, or to be able to be changed, or so that, because they didn't want attention drawn to them, right? They were both humble men. You read the story of Stephen, very, very humble man, as he is martyred. And it takes a meek and lonely person for the Spirit to bear the shinings of God. So think about that for a moment. So now Moses relays to them the new covenant. And so he tells them again, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow God. You're not supposed to follow idols. And they have a renewal of the covenant. But as we close this, I just want to throw in some Bible history stuff that I didn't know. So just information. So then, as we see, of course, people were afraid to get to Moses because of his shiny face. And then God tells him to put a veil on. And so I always thought it was because his face was so shiny that he wanted to make it easier for people to go around him, to be around him, and not be so affected by God's glory. But actually, the more now Moses, is not directly contacted with God, so now he's with the people. And remember, the old covenant is going to die, so, right? Because the new covenant has to come in, and that's the new covenant of Jesus. But it's Paul who explains why Moses wears a veil. And so go ahead and read that in 2 Corinthians 3:13. And it basically says the glory of his face was diminishing as the old covenant was fading. And God didn't want people to see the fading glory and lose confidence in Moses. So I always thought it was because Moses had been in God's presence. But the old covenant, it was also signifying that the old covenant is, this covenant is good, it has a purpose, but it's going to fade, it's going to be replaced. But at this point, the people still needed to have confidence in the old covenant because Jesus wasn't coming yet, right? So they had to follow the old covenant. So that's why Moses was wearing a veil. All right, so for me, the thing that I respond to, that I'm going to respond to in this process, is again just reminding myself that God is a God. He's a God of judgment, but he's also a God who is full of mercy and full of compassion and full of love and forgiving. And so this is a God who we love and whom we follow. All right, see you tomorrow. And remember, 5 minutes in the Word can change your life.